Ratchet and Clank. Where you been? Look at this little guy. Where's he been? It's been a good 3 years. We want more, and we're gonna get more. Spoiler alert. We're gonna talk about when the next Ratchet and Clank game is happening. Or not when, but what's going on with Ratchet and Clank. Everything you need to know is in this video. I'm telling you right now. We're gonna talk about 3 points here. We're gonna talk about why, the what, and the when. I want to include some timestamps too. I'll either put them on the side here or they'll be in the description below. So if you want to jump to the why, what, or when to this, or skip the intro, whatever, just FYI, you can look out for that. Let's start off with the why. What I mean by why is how we know that another game is happening. Well, it all kind of starts when this game came out in 2016. This was not the best-selling game. I want to make that clear. I've seen a lot of people say it's the best-selling Ratchet and Clank game. No, it's the fastest-selling. There's a difference there. I watched this really great video. I'll link it below, which he did a lot of research into which best-selling Ratchet and Clank games there were. This was at number 6 at 2.5 million copies, supposedly. That's not including. I don't even think that's including digital downloads, or it was a free game with PS Plus for 1 month. So, more than that now. But this was the fastest selling game ever by Insomniac. Until Spider-Man. Which, by the way, there's gonna be a Spider-Man 2, okay? We don't have to talk about that. Everything that I've seen is, you know, when Insomniac got bought out by Sony, and they're with Sony now, everyone's like, what does this mean for Spider-Man? Also Ratchet and Clank, but what is this Spider-Man? There's gonna be a Spider-Man. Okay, there's gonna be a Spider-Man. Ratchet and Clank, fastest selling. Also, so, we're gonna put 2 and 2 together here. It was the fastest selling game ever. Also, when they're asked about the next Ratchet and Clank game, they'll tell you that. They'll tell you, hey, I mean, well, you gotta realize that it was the fastest selling game ever. It was very successful, meaning it made a lot of money. Meaning Sony probably asked them to do it again. And, well, what did they say? Well, this goes back to something else that they hinted at. Back when this beautiful art book came out, my green screen is destroying it. It was a wonderful art book. They teased there was a little Easter egg, little something to be excited about at the end of the book. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's kind of long, but I'll put it up on screen though, probably. But basically all it says is, thank you for letting us do this. We love Ratchet and Clank. It's just basically like a we love Ratchet and Clank. And that's also what they say when asked about what's the next Ratchet and Clank going to be. Like, well, we'll just say that we love it. Also, it was very successful. That basically means Sony asked them to make more because it made a lot of money. So do it again, please. We want more money. And they were like, oh, we love Ratchet and Clank. Yes, we're going to do it again. So that alone is, you know, I mean, you could speculate on that, but it's pretty strong already. Another thing, we'll switch over to the desktop here. They've been tweeting a lot of Ratchet and Clank stuff. Just, I don't know, they kind of stopped, though. They started doing this and they stopped. They talked about who needs playable Clank, some Clank gameplay. Side note, the next game, well, we'll talk about the next game in the next segment here. We're talking about the why first. President of Sony tweeted a picture with these 2 statues that came out a few years ago. This one was $100. This was a $200 statue. You can see the box back here, like he just got it. I don't know how he just got it, but I mean, he's the president. He can do whatever he wants. Not like presidents can just do whatever they want, but you know what I mean. So he's got these statues. So pretty interesting that, you know, it's been 3 years since this game came out, and he just now decides to get some statues for his office. So I don't know. There's a lot of tweets, but that was back before Gamescom happened. I thought there was gonna be an announcement there, but there wasn't. But we'll come back to the when later. We'll get to there. Another interesting thing to note is these little blind bag things that ESC Toy is coming out with very soon. Still this year. It says 4th quarter of this year, which is between now and the end of the year, basically. But kind of interesting. They're just randomly deciding to come out with some statues. I mean, it is the anniversary of the series, like really soon, actually. November 4th, 2002, the very first Ratchet and Clank game came out. So I would maybe even predict that might be the day these come out. Maybe that's why. What is that? That's a 17-year anniversary. That's kind of a weird anniversary to celebrate. So I don't know. Maybe it's just for that, but you know, it could be a little hint towards something more, potentially. Getting into more substantial, credible sources, we have here Colin Moriarty, who used to work for IGN, the head of the PlayStation division, has lots of connections with people in PlayStation, lots of friends in Sony, and specifically Insomniac as well. He said, we have not seen the last of Ratchet & Clank on PS4. I believe he later went to say that It'll probably be on PS5, but we'll get to the when later, so chill. We're just talking about how we know it's happening in the first place. So very credible source says it's happening, on top of everything else that I've already said. And then into the most credible, basically confirming that it's happening. Right after Insomniac became part of the Worldwide Studios, Sean Layden, who's now gone, may he rest in peace. He's alive, just, you know. He did an interview, and who cares about the question or whatever else he said. This highlighted part says, "We like what they've been doing in the Spider-Man franchise, and things like Ratchet and Clank are certainly vital for this series in the present and future." The only more confirmation you needed than that is I'm actually announcing the game, but that's basically it. You could argue, if you're going to be pessimistic about it or whatever, you can argue he says present. Maybe he's talking about the 2016 game here, but that was 3 years ago, so that's not the present. Last time I checked what the present is. So he's talking about the future. We're going to come back to this quote in a little while, though, when we talk about the what of it. Little more speculation along with this quote, but we'll come back to that. So this is a vital series for Sony because it made them a lot of money. They said, "Can we do more?" It was very successful, and they love the series, so they said, "Yeah." So it's probably happening. It's happening. I guarantee they're working on it right now. Now, if you're worried, like how I actually was at a point that maybe the success of Spider-Man is somehow hindering the life of Ratchet and Clank, that's not true. That's not true. They have 2 studios, one here in LA, well, Burbank, and North Carolina. And I believe the North Carolina studio is the one that did make the 2016 game. So, I mean, they could have been doing it the whole time, although they did say that everybody was working on Spider-Man before it came out. But it's been over a year now since Spider-Man came out. So, I mean, they've had at least a year they've been working on it. Potentially even more than that. They also have VR people. They have this Stormlands game coming out soon, which we'll come back to again. A lot of things we'll come back to in this first segment. They have the Stormlands game coming out. They have like a VR team. They have the Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank, maybe even Resistance. We'll get to that again in a second. But that's basically how we know that this game, it's happening. There's gonna be a new Ratchet and Clank game. Now moving on to the what. This is where things are going to get a little messy. There's a lot to cover here. So I'd like to take the time to remind you to subscribe, ring that bell, share this video, like it, comment about things. Yeah, I hate doing this. I'm sorry. So we'll start this off by saying, well, okay, what do I mean by what? What is this game going to be? There's 2 options here. It'll either be a Going Commando reimagining of this game right here. This is a hoverback race, but this is Going Commando, the second game in the original franchise series, the second game in the whole franchise. Now it makes sense, you know, they reimagined the first game. Well, let's reimagine the second game. But I don't know. I'm kind of on the post-Nexus side, and that's an unbiased opinion because I was actually leaning towards Going Commando before I started getting ready for this video. But I think it might be a post-Nexus game. So post-Nexus, if you're not familiar, is the last game that they made in the storyline 6 years ago. It's been 6 years since that. Now, if they do a post-Nexus game, I have a feeling that it could very well come alongside, or before it comes out, there might be a collection of some kind. Now, this collection could be like the same one they did on the PS3, where it's just the original first 3 games. Although, side note, it wouldn't be the collection on the PS3 ported over the PS4. It would be a upscale of the originals like they did with Jak and Daxter, because PS3 architecture is weird, but whatever. It could be that. It could be all the PS2 games. It could be a future trilogy of just the Tools of Destruction, Quest for Booty, and Crack in Time. It could even be maybe the important ones on the PS3, which would be Tools, Crack in Time, and Into the Nexus to catch you up with everything. Or maybe it'll be like what they did with Kingdom Hearts, a story so far kind of thing with everything. Now, I would love to see a collection, and I do think it might happen also because you can't play any Ratchet and Clank game on a current generation console. Now, keep in mind, the PS5 is completely backwards compatible with PS4, so anything coming to PS4, you can play on PS5, so we're just going to be focusing on things being on PS4. Any kind of collection, that is. You can play all of the PS3 games except for Tools of Destruction through PlayStation Now, but who wants to stream games? I don't know. Like, if you're going to play those games, you want to play them right. You have to play it on a PS3. That's the only way to play it right now, which is really unfortunate. The PS4 also has a PlayStation 2 Classics library. Ratchet and Clank is nowhere to be found there. Interesting. Maybe they were saving it because they knew they wanted to come out with a collection for it specifically, which is highly probable. However, just because they're going to do a post-Nexus game doesn't mean that there will be a collection, because there isn't really a lot of continuity between all of the games. The only exception is really Tools of Destruction and A Crack in Time and Quest for Booty, but that's, you know, a very short, like 4-hour game. It's not the most important game, unfortunately. I'd say it's a great game, just not the most important. So even if they go a post-Nexus route, they can just start something new. Like it's not going to be after, maybe it'll be after the 2016 reimagining, but it won't be Going Commando. But it also won't be Into the Nexus, which would be kind of weird. They'll just keep that up somehow. I hope it's not that. I don't think it is that, because they've said themselves, like, in one of their live streams, they said, like, well, yeah, the question is, do we go Going Commando or do we do post-Nexus? So, I mean, it's really just between those two, I think. And I kind of want to get into a little bit of wishful thinking, but we'll get to the bigger points here in a minute. But first, let's hit these smaller points, like weapons. Just a kind of a general topic, either way it goes. What about weapons? How is that going to be? Well, in one of their live streams, I asked them, what's something you learned when you made the 2016 game? I was curious. Thought it was a good question. And they answered something about the frame rate with the movie cutscenes or something. But they also said that something they learned is that people don't want to see old weapons. People want new weapons. So either way they take, I think we can expect to see some new weapons. Maybe there'll be a couple returning ones, but I think they learned, like that's like something they said specifically when asked about, you know, what's something you learned, they learned that they should make new weapons, so I think we can expect that. So that doesn't really affect which path they'll take, I don't think, but something to think about. Another thing to note, that I don't know if this is important or not, but Sony doesn't have a AAA family-friendly game. You could argue maybe that's Spider-Man, but that's, I don't know, more of like a teen game, but it's family, I don't know, I mean, my little brother played it. But either way, Insomniac still has full control of whatever they want it to be. And I think the best part about this next game is that there's no movie tie. Now, I'm not saying the movie is bad, but I'm also not saying that I would watch it ever again. I really liked it. The opening night, I went and saw it by myself. Only time I've seen a movie by myself. I loved it. I had such a great time. I tried to watch it again on Netflix, and I couldn't get through it. It's just great, but I would just play the game. So since there is no movie tie-in, you have to realize the 2016 game was based on the movie, which was based on the original 2002 game. The movie wasn't based off the game. So the movie, the target audience for the movie was really kid-friendly. They really wanted it to be towards kids. That's how they thought it would be successful as a movie. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. And if there's any criticism of the 2016 game, is the story, and it's like too kiddie, lost its edge or whatever. I see all that. So I think the best thing is that there's no movie tie-in. So I think we can expect a little more, kind of easing into the little more hopeful thoughts I was getting into. But first, on a related note, Sony also doesn't really have a first-person shooter AAA game right now that's exclusive to them. They just bought Insomniac. Insomniac has a great franchise called Resistance. Resistance 4? Resistance Collection? Just saying. And one more thing to add, Insomniac also stated that the Future Saga was its own thing. Now, I don't know if that means if they're talking about the trilogy of the 3 games specifically, or all the PS3 games is the Future Saga, because I've heard them refer to it as that before. That is the Future Saga, is all the PS3 games. Which is an interesting take, because you think about it, each console kind of has their own saga of Ratchet and Clank games. There's the originals on the PS2, which are a little more contingent, and then there's the PS3 Future Saga, which is kind of contingent in itself. It kind of starts over with Tools of Destruction. I feel weird talking over Azimuth. And then the PS4 had the reimagination, and then PS5 has something new. Let's talk about that. So, going back to Sean Layden's quote, that it is vital series for the future. Is it wishful thinking to think that he could be? I don't think he's intentionally teasing at this, but to speculate that we could be seeing more than just one game here. Think about it. I mean, okay, let me back up here. Think about this. Sony, if you remember, a few months ago, maybe even last year, I don't remember, they mentioned, they stated that they want to focus more on single-player, story-driven experiences. Okay, so putting 2 and 2 together, hold on to that thought. When I was at the Fan and Family event back at the beginning of June, I was talking to Ted Price, No big deal. I had him sign all my games and stuff. It was really amazing. Thank you guys. They're so nice. I love them all so much. Ted Price, incredible. I talked to him. I got out a crack in time. This game right here. This game. I mean, I can't even tell you how like impactful this game is to me. How much it means to me. And I was gushing all about it. And whenever you gush to them about a crack in time, this is what they say. They keep telling us that a crack in time is like their standard for storytelling in a Ratchet and Clank game. That's the kind of storytelling they want to achieve, which seems like, well, that's something they've been thinking about then. Have they been, you know, they're obviously working on this game right now. Have they been talking about how like, okay guys, we need to, you know, amp up our storytelling. A crack in time was like the pinnacle of that. Let's kind of, you know, set the bar there and go from there. Now, Insomniac is a Sony exclusive company who that company is focused on single player experience with heavy story. They're focused on heavy story. They have a bigger budget now because they're with the Sony exclusively. Now, them being actually acquired, they have full creative freedom still. I think the only way it really impacts is just better budget, and everything they do is just going to be on Sony, obviously. Now, this game has been in development probably at least a year, I would suggest. Because, again, you know, Spider-Man came out a year ago, and everyone was working on Spider-Man, supposedly. But they have a lot of teams. They have a lot of people that work for Insomniac. They, you know, who knows? Who knows how long this has been in development? So I don't know if being acquired now affects the budget of it, or if they had this planned for a while. I have no idea. I have no idea how long they've had this planned. But I don't know, putting all those things together, kind of a good feeling that, you know, this next game could be, you know, just maybe some wishful thinking, but I think it makes sense as well. Maybe we'll see some greater things like this space exploration, exploring the moons. I want to see that stuff again. The Clank gameplay that's in the level that it is in this game is out the best. I want to see that level of Clank gameplay, space exploration, moons, but even bigger expanded because it might be on PS5. Spoiler alert about the when section of the video. I just don't want this game to be another $40 game. I want to spend $300 on a freaking collector's edition. I want to spend $500 on the PS5 customized Ratchet and Clank. I'm gonna put as much money as I can give them on this game. And I think I have a good feeling. Don't want to jinx it or anything, you know, knock on wood. I think there's some real wood in this desk. But I don't know. If anything, to sum it up, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of good things that are aiming towards a really great experience for this next game. And maybe, if it is a trilogy, maybe it's as simple as Going Commando reimagining and Up Your Arsenal reimagining. And that's the trilogy. And we're already a third of the way through it. Which would be unfortunate, but, I mean, they're still going to be amazing games nonetheless, and they'll probably be even bigger than the 2016 one anyways. So, it won't be maybe a new title in the storyline, but it'll be its own storyline, which they're starting new, and I don't know, who knows, maybe this is like a 20-year plan. They're gonna restart the whole series, catch all the way back up to Nexus in a new way or something. I'm in the middle of editing this video, and I just thought of another potential scenario that I just want to include since I'm got everything set up still. This is less exciting, but maybe probable. Maybe I just don't want to admit that it's probable, but since the 2016 game was so successful and Sony really liked it, maybe they're not necessarily like, okay, this is great, here's more money, just do it bigger since people still like it. Maybe they were just thinking, this does really well, let's just do it again at this same level. It could just be like another side project, just make another $40 Going Commando reimagining or $40 post-Nexus, whatever, and just keep doing it the way you did it. Except, you know, maybe the only best thing out of it would be that it's not a movie tie-in, so it'll be not so kiddie still, but I don't know, just another potential less exciting scenario that I just wanted to include. Now, something to note as well, if they do take a post-Nexus route, they also, Insomniac, they have stated that, think about this, Quark narrates the entire 2016 game. He doesn't narrate the movie, but for some reason he has to narrate the whole game. They said, I don't know if this was planned from the beginning or if they realized this later, but they said that they can just say, oh, Quark is an unreliable source, boom, whole 2016 game is just non-canon. I mean, it's canon in the way that Quark told the story, but it didn't actually happen. I mean, think about it. He literally, like, said there was a T-Rex at some part. I mean, he went back on it, but it was like, oh, just kidding. But who knows? The whole thing could have just been made up. Definitely possible. So, Going Commando, post-Nexus, who knows? But either way, There's a lot of signs pointing towards this being a much bigger game. And again, the best thing, there's no movie tie-in to hold it back. Now that kind of wraps up the what section of it, which again was the bulk of the video. I'm really curious as to, I don't even know what the general audio, like the general consensus is. Do people want a Going Commando one more, or do they want a post-Nexus one more? I don't know how many people even played Nexus, or played the 2016 one, didn't play Nexus, but maybe they still want to see the story continue, because, I mean, again, it's non-contingent. They can continue the story, but you didn't have to play Nexus, essentially. Who knows? Really, there's just, this is a black screen. There's just a lot of things that they still have to answer. So, you know, I'm actually going to put a poll up where, like, right there, click on that. I don't know how well this video is going to do. I'm kind of reaching a new audience here, or trying to. So hit that poll and let me know. Do you want to see a Going Commando reimagining, or do you want to see a post-Nexus? See the story continue? Let me know. Moving on to the when of the video. This is a bit of a shorter section. There's not so much to talk about here. I originally thought it might be Gamescom because All For One was announced there back when that game happened. So there's a history of Ratchet being announced there, but that obviously didn't happen. Instead, the acquisition was announced instead at that time. I then thought it was going to be at State of Play. I didn't think a game would be announced at State of Play, but I thought potentially a collection, the collection, if it was going to happen, it would be announced at State of Play. And I was like, not really. But then they started talking about, well, it was originally rumored to be on November 1st, and it ended up being a lot sooner, which kind of also pushed this video back a little bit. And maybe there will be another one still this year, and they'll announce it, but I don't really think so, because those State of Plays, like, they're great, and they're really good. They show a lot of great games, but they're just, like, kind of lower tier games. I mean, Ratchet and Clank is kind of on, like, a higher tier, you know? So I don't know if they want to announce, they definitely want to announce a new game there, but a collection is entirely plausible. And they said there was going to be all, like, you know, The Last of Us, Death Stranding. There was a Batman rumor at the State of Play. I thought it'd be a bigger one, and it wasn't really, so it was just those couple titles. But State of Play, maybe a collection announcement. But the big thing, here's your answer here. It's rumored that there'll be a PlayStation meeting on either January 22nd or February 12th, where they'll talk about and showcase the PlayStation 5. There's going to be a bunch of third-party and first-party developers there, which now includes Insomniac. I mean, they would have been there anyways, but now they're more important because they're first-party, so they'll definitely be there, and they're going to show off what they've been working on. And it's more than like it's Ratchet and Clank. Like, they're gonna show off Ratchet and Clank. Like, I would be actually surprised if they don't show off Ratchet and Clank. If maybe they won't be there at all because the game's not ready yet, and they want to spend more time on it. But I don't know. I mean, they already have most of the assets there, so I mean, we'll see. If it's gonna be as ambitious as I'm predicting it might be, maybe it won't be announced there, but most likely, I think it'll be announced at this time. Another thing to think about, going back to Stormlands, this VR game is coming out. They finally have a release date, November 14th. That's what, like 3-4 months before the supposed meeting. That is like a perfect amount of time to just, you know, promote this game until they announce the next one, because they have no announced projects after Stormlands comes out. When Stormlands comes out, we don't know what the hell they're working on. It could be anything. Although I'm telling you, it's Ratchet and Clank. Are we going to see it as soon as the first quarter of 2020? I would say there's at least a 90% chance. I feel pretty strongly about it. They at least announce it. At least announce it. Maybe it'll be a launch title with the PS5. Maybe it'll come out a little bit afterwards. Also, since this is just kind of like an ultimate video here, if you remember back when Spider-Man came out, there was a little Easter egg on the little Twitter feed on the map from Ted Price, who said, "Did you hear about the new Insomniac game that was just announced?" They said, "Oh, that wasn't supposed to be in there. That was like a joke we did or something. We forgot to take it out." I think maybe they just didn't mean to put it in yet. So I don't know. Maybe look out for that around this time, like a week before the meeting happens or something. Maybe that'll pop up again. So I don't know. I think it's pretty probable it'll be announced with the PS5 the first quarter. I mean, even if it's not one of those two dates, it'll still be like the first quarter, because that's the same thing they did with the PS4. Is about the same time, same thing. And the console is supposed to come out the fall, winter, I think like fall time of 2020 next year, about like around this time, a little earlier. Yeah, about this time. So a year from now, we could be playing the next Ratchet and Clank game. And it might be announced within like just 4, 5, 6 months. Yeah, so if it's not at this meeting, it could definitely be at PSX, the PlayStation Experience, which is sometime around June, apparently, I think. which is like more than the summer, a little closer to the release. You could see a lot more release announcements there. Maybe it'll be there if they need a little bit more time to work on it before they want to show anything off. And then it probably definitely won't be a launch title, which is fine, but, you know. To wrap this whole video up, is this game happening? Yes. Yes, it is. What is it going to be, though? Going Commando, post-Nexus? It could go either way, kind of leaning towards a post-Nexus thing. Not necessarily it's going to follow directly after Into the Nexus, but it'll continue the story in a way where maybe it'll be a new trilogy of games. Maybe they have a lot more planned. I don't know. You know, it all depends on how well the next one does, obviously. But to sum it all up really in a word, it's ambitious, or there's potential. Potential, not it could be ambitious. Potentially ambitious. And then when is it happening? Probably at the PlayStation meeting in the first quarter of next year. If not, then maybe PSX or some other event before the PS5 comes out. If none of that, then when the PS5 comes out. But either way, I'm like almost 100% sure it is being announced in 2020. If it doesn't even come out in 2020, which I think it probably could. But if it doesn't, then it'll definitely be announced that year. So that's about everything there is to talk about. I feel like I might have missed some stuff, but I mean, I have my notes here. I might leave my notes in like a paste bin thing in the description if you want to look at it. If I for some reason missed something, I believe I did go over everything though. So there you go, the ultimate be all end all. Everything Ratchet and Clank is going to be. This has been on my mind for months. I just wanted to get this out there. I've never done anything like this before. Kind of reaching for a new audience here, which is an audience I'm a part of. I look for videos like these, and this is stuff I've been talking about, and I'm not really seeing anyone talk about it in depth as I am, so I just wanted to do it myself. So let me know. Leave a like, subscribe, hit that bell, comment, share the video everywhere. Just comment, talk about it with me. I want to talk about it. This is all I want to talk about. Maybe if there's an announcement trailer, I'll do like an analysis of the trailer. That might be kind of fun, depending on how detailed it is. It might just be a teaser. I don't know. Quick personal side note: back when they were doing promotion for the 2016 game, I feel like they did like too much, or just they showed too much. Because when I actually played the game, there was only one level, and it was towards the end. One level that I didn't know was in the game. Everything else I had seen. It was not surprising. I was kind of like underwhelmed. It kind of ruined the experience for me a little bit. And it's my fault because I went out looking for it, but why should I be penalized for just being such a huge fan, you know? By the way, this part right here in the original version is hard, difficult. I'm going to try not to swear too much in this video. Not like it matters for me, but I don't know. I just feel like they showed like too much, and I just saw too much, and it was kind of underwhelming when I finally got to play. I mean, it was great. I had a great time, but just a personal side note. Please let me know what you thought about this video, what you think about Ratchet and Clank. Where's this going to be? Let me know. Do you want to see it Going Commando reimagining, or do you want to see a post-Nexus game? Do you want to see the story pick up? Do you want to see it just reboot itself again, like with Tools of Destruction, to just start a new trilogy of some kind? Do you think it'll be a trilogy? Do you think there'll be a collection? What kind of collection do you want to see? I have so many. This is all I want to talk about. I'm serious. Talk to me about it. Follow me on Twitter. Follow the subreddit. Active on there. I have notifications on. I'll see like all the posts. But follow me on Twitter for sure. Instagram, obviously, too. I hate Instagram. Instagram sucks. But I have to use it. But most importantly, please subscribe, share this video, like it. I hope you enjoyed this. I guess I gotta end the video now. I'm just as bad at outros as I am at intros. So let's just end it. Thank you all for your time. Let's end on a cracking time because I just love it so much. We're still in Axiom City. This is like my second favorite level. But this is one of the hardest parts of the game. Oh my god. This was so hard the first time. I'm just ranting now. I just want to talk about Ratchet and Clank all the time. I just love it so much. Thank you all so much for your time. Whoops. Okay, I'm leaving now before I break something. Thank you for your time, everyone. Peace.